Today. Remember, Mitch Kupchak just took over as GM, so this wasn't a shock. Tracy, what's your reaction?
Oh, Mitch, you got my guy Clifford out of there. Such a great guy. I was coached by him in Houston. Hate to see him go. I'm sure he'll find another gig.
I don't think this was so unwelcome by Steve Clifford. I think he thinks he's gone as far as he can with that team. I don't think he was that upset about it. And I think he's going to get a job before next season. And I would watch the Orlando Magic, another place he also coached. The Orlando Magic is a place for Steve Clifford. Also, Milwaukee Bucks might be involved.
Interesting. See, yesterday, Brian said that the Knicks should not rush to replace their coach because the market would mature, like a fine wine.
And I'm going to reiterate that. I don't think this is the last surprising coaching change.
Oh.
So another high-profile coach you feel will become available.
At least one, maybe more.
Interesting. Cliffhanger.
Stay tuned, folks.
There's
a lot of there's a lot of coaches who had 1 year left on their contract, including Steve Clifford. And when you have 1 year left,
you don't get
all
that
kinds
extension.
of things opens up.
Interesting. Well, welcome to The Jump. I am Rachel Nichols, joined by our insider, Brian Windhorst, our Hall of Famer, Tracy McGrady. Tracy has been singing, which is, I think, a good sign. You know what producer Danny says, don't get fired on a Friday, so watch the language of the singing, because not all of it has been made for TV. But I'm excited because the playoffs are finally starting tomorrow, guys. This is Christmas for me. You know how I get for the next 2 months. But as all these Game 1s tip, there is no bigger story than the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have just wrapped up their best regular season in franchise history. They racked up 59 wins, put a stranglehold on the East #1 seed. But the Raptors themselves will be the first to tell you there's always a but. What about the playoffs? This is a franchise that has lost Game 1 of every series it has played for 10 series in a row. That's crazy. This is a team that has seen as many playoff lows as playoff highs. So I sat down with the team's all-star duo of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan to talk about how their new style of play might change all of that and why they think now is the time for them to make a run. Take a look. The regular season that you guys just put in the books is a pretty big departure for the NBA. Usually, if a team hasn't gotten quite where management wants it to go, they rip up the roster.
I think you got to withstand the test of time of, you got to go through them dog days sometimes to be built even stronger, and I think that's what we did. You got to give the credit to the front office and believing, and it's a testament to us, sticking to, our game, and, I think it was a two-way street that we both took that ride on.
Your playing style change has been well documented over the season.
A little bit.
The one I really liked was during some of the inter-squad scrimmages early on that the coaches changed the scoring. So if you guys hit a corner three, that actually counted for 4 points in the scrimmage.
Yeah.
If you hit a mid-range jumper, it counted for 0 points, or even you could get tagged for a -1 point.
Yeah.
And that to really get you guys to play differently. What was that like?
I hated it. I'm like, man, this is stupid. This ain't real basketball. 4 points for a corner shot. But it helped us. It helped us realize the type of game we wanted to play.
So you guys evolved during the regular season. You get the #1 seed. How much does it matter if you don't have the playoff success? I know that you guys have been so focused on.
Nothing matters.
We playing for everything.
Yeah. Waste of a year. Waste of a year for us.
A waste of a year.
I mean, not a waste of a year, but it's a disappointing year. I mean, the playoffs.
It's a waste of a year.
Yeah, waste of a year.
Period.
I mean,
we put in all this work, and you want to compete for that championship. Anything less is, you go into the summer upset, thinking like, man, I got to do this all over again.
Like right back down the bottom of the totem pole.
You listen to radio and TV up here, and the feeling is that you guys are not getting the respect you're due from the rest of the NBA, that they're skeptical of how you're going to do in the playoffs. Do you guys feel that?
Everyone says, oh, this, that, first game, and they always count. They always say, myself and DeMar, we don't play well in playoffs. But at the end of the day, we've been to a conference finals, we've been to a second round. We've played the 5th most playoff games in the last whatever, how many years. Me personally, I don't pay attention to what people say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm crazy. At the end of the day, that's just my conclusion.
You mentioned the Game 1s. This predates you guys.
Yeah.
You can go back 10 series the Raptors have played where this franchise has lost Game 1s, and you've been around for some of those. What is that?
I say this right now, it's probably our biggest game of our year, would be that.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, to be honest, that would be...
What you told me? Our game 1 would be our game 7.
That will be our game 7. And me and him talked about it, and, you know, we'll present that to the team. You know, we'll say it is. Our game 1 is our game 7.
You mentioned, too, that people say, oh, they can't handle the pressure. That's been another big knock on this team, and about you guys in particular.
All right, people going to say what they're going to say. At the end of the day, we know what we've done. We know we've taken our team, we've taken our organization, we've taken our franchise.
I mean, that just go back to me saying people crazy.
There's a feeling this year, especially when you guys got to the #1 seed, oh, it's Toronto's turn, it's Toronto's turn. Boston had a bunch of injuries, but you got to feel like they're coming in the next couple of years, right? That young team, ton of experience, Gordon Hayward gets healthy, Kyrie gets healthy. Philadelphia maybe ahead of schedule, right? LeBron and Cleveland all through the season look more vulnerable than they've looked in a while. Does it feel to you guys like this is it? This is your window? This is your time?
Yeah, I think we felt like that for a while now. We haven't executed it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have that continuous opportunity, you know, you got to understand, you know, they don't come around too often, that we have another opportunity. This could be our last. We got to treat it like our last. So, you know, to answer your question, most definitely, because you, without doubt.
I love seeing those guys together. That was actually part 1 of our conversation. Part 2 is going to air next week. We talk more about their relationship. But I want to show you this fantastic article on ESPN.com. Brian Windhorst, sitting next to me, just posted this morning. We're going to start with you. This is all about those game 1s. And when we were sitting watching that interview, Tracy turned to us and he goes, 10? 10 in a row? 10 game 1s?
Yeah.
You wrote a whole piece about this.
Yeah, you went to Toronto. I went to Toronto. I talked to him about it. Kyle said that this is the most important game they've ever played tomorrow against the Wizards. It's crazy. Yes, it doesn't. They don't all belong to them, but this group, DeMar, Kyle, and Dwayne Casey, and some other players, they've played 7 in the last 4 years. 7 game 1s. They've lost all 7. 5 of them. The crazy thing about this, Rach, 5 of them have been at home. They have such an incredible home court where they get those fans involved. They have the fans who come outside, Jurassic Park, they call it, in Maple Leaf Square. It is something that's in their head. And I even talked to Damari Carroll, who's been with them the last few years, who's no longer here. And Damari said with every loss, it compounded. We started thinking more and more about it. So, Tracy, they've complained that they've always gotten the 12:30 game because 4 years in a row they got the 12:30 game right out of the gate, so they complained to the league. The league pushed them back, gave them a 5:30 game last year against the Bucks. They lost that one. So they're out of excuses now. They're the #1 seed. They're playing 8. They're healthy. They're ready.
They're the 5:30 game again, right?
They're 5:30 game, but it's not 12:30.
Right.
I mean,
but that's what I mean. It's
honestly, that 12:30 game is an advantage for Toronto. You know, for the Raptors.
They claim it may not
they're coming into that city.
And I think they would also say that they would rather just have a regular 7:30 game.
Well, yeah.
I mean, here's my deal. Yes, they had first game woes of the playoffs, and let's see if it built that character for these guys to overcome these woes. I really don't understand how you work so hard through the regular season to establish home court advantage, and then come playoff time, game 1, you know, you don't perform well.
So you heard Kyle say, I'm going to get in front of the team tomorrow on Saturday, game 1, and say, this is our game 7. Do you like that? Do you like him saying that to the guys? Do you feel like it's pressure? What do you think that?
I feel like they're putting too much of the unnecessary pressure on themselves. I mean, no, don't treat this like a game 7. It's game 1, right? Like, forget about the woes. This is a different year, different team. You're much better than you were in the previous years. We expect you to do more this year because of, you know, the season that you guys have had. Don't put that unnecessary pressure on yourself.
Generally, I think you're right, Tracy. In this particular case, if that happens again, I think they have to all of a sudden face the demons like, here we go again.
Right.
This actually, our 59 wins and our #1 seed isn't going to be any different. I actually think that tomorrow's game is almost worth 2 games to them. It's almost like getting up 2-0 because this way, if they win, they can say, you know what, this season is going to be different. We are the #1 seed. And frankly, you asked this, and this is true. Let's just be honest. This is the weakest LeBron team that they would have faced in the last 4 years. I wasn't saying that they're not going to win the East, the Cavs. It's the weakest team. The #2 seed has been decimated. The #3 seed has infinitesimal experience compared to them. If the Raptors are ever going to do it, if Kyle and DeMar are ever going to do it, it's now. Happens now.
I will agree with you on this. They have to take advantage of this opportunity this year because us NBA players, some teams and great players really only have that certain window where you do have a great team and you can advance in the playoffs. I mean, this has been, you know, an ongoing thing with them. This is their best chance to advance, possibly make it to the finals. Who knows what's going to happen next year? You have to take care of business right now.
That was my point at the end of the piece, is that sometimes you're waiting and it's quote, my turn, right? We went through the Detroit Pistons and the Bulls waited and they finally slayed them and then it was their turn for a long time. And we've seen that in stages, you know, with LeBron's teams. He had to wait and slay the Celtics and then it was his turn. The Raptors have been waiting to slay these LeBron teams. It might not be, it's not like they can just wait until they finally do that and that's their turn, because this is what we're talking about in the interview. The Celtics are coming.
Yes.
The Sixers are coming.
Yes.
If it doesn't, it's not probably going to happen this year for Boston with their injuries. It might not happen, as you say, with the experience with the Sixers, but that's not going to be the same next year.
No.
So
game one's important, Trace.
This is the year
I didn't
that
say it
LeBron
wasn't.
maybe, and by the
I
way,
agree.
who knows? I hate to use the word LeBron and vulnerable in the same sentence because it hasn't been vulnerable yet. But if this is maybe, you know, one of the less deep rosters LeBron has taken with him into the playoffs, then maybe this is it. This is the year. So I don't know. All right, coming up, we are going to talk about NBA awards reform. Not who should win what, but how these awards are handed out. I think this is going to get kind of interesting. Stay tuned. But first, here's our distant replay. This date in 1996. Hakeem, baby. Take a look.